Today on Draw With Me, we're going to do some familiar back-to-school items. Hi everybody, it's Wednesday, 1 o'clock, and we are here for Draw With Me Kids Edition, and we're at episode 25. Today is the first Draw With Me Kids for September, and that usually means this time of year.
I'm ready for school!
We're getting ready for school. That's right. Hey, Sophia.
Hi.
Come on in, Miss Rainbows. Oh, and Bamboo Leaf is going to join us today. Let me get this out for you. Today we're going to try and draw one of these. And some of the supplies that you're going to need to have for your school day. I know that probably some of you are going to have a very different year this year, no matter what you go back to, whether you go back to school directly and see your teachers, or if you're going to try and learn online on web stuff, or if you're going to be learning from your parents at home. It's going to be different. And guess what? Sometimes that can be a little scary too, right?
Bamboo Leaf is the school supply.
You got a school supply? A very important one for ours. And sometimes, that can be a little bit scary if you're dealing with those kind of feelings on change and whatnot. But one of the things that I always find that helps is to do something that maybe is a little familiar. So we're going to draw some familiar school supply stuff. And Bamboo Leaf is reminding us to get your pencils, your paper, and your erasers. And let's go.
Would you leave your pencil, Bamboo Leaf?
Bamboo Leaf, leave her pencil. Lose her pencil.
Oh no, I got it back.
Alright, so we have one that we did last week, and this is a nice little card that actually Miss Rainbows got from her friend directly, delivered to her directly. And it's this beautiful, let me put it into the normal range here. Here we go, this beautiful picture with all the presents and a 3-tier cake. This is Happy Birthday, Sophia. And it's Bamboo Leaf, so it's really cool. That made her day. There was more on the card, but not to worry for the artist in case he's worried that some of it went missing. It didn't. It's still on the beautiful card she got. This is my creation from our week.
Actually, the panda on the artist card there is our little panda guest.
Oh, it is our
right
little
here.
That's right, little Bamboo Leaf.
Can't see it, but she's up by the camera.
So I did this birthday celebration using all of my favorite colors and a lot of Miss Rainbow's favorite colors. Because yes, indeed, it was Miss Rainbow's birthday over the last week. And she turned another year older. Was it exciting? Did you have a good birthday?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good to hear. So this was a birthday card that Miss Rainbows did for somebody else who was celebrating a birthday last week as well. So there's all kinds of occasions to celebrate, isn't that right?
Yeah.
Split that screen.
Got Bamboo Leaf sitting right here. She gave me her pencil to draw with.
She gave you a pencil to draw with? That's pretty cool. So I'm just going to get my page right here. Yes. Alright, so who's ready for school? Any comments in the comments? Who's ready for school? You can say, yay, me, or oh god, no. Anyway,
Oh, I think I already got a reaction from one of my friends earlier today.
Yeah, well, what's your reaction? What is your personal reaction, Miss Rainbows?
Yay,
excited?
nay.
Yay, nay. Right in between. That's okay. I can understand how you feel that way. It's going to be a weird school year, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think the teachers are going to do their best to try and make it feel as normal as possible if you're going back. But if you're not going back and you're trying to do it online, somebody's excited, yay! If you are going back online, then that's going to be a different experience too. And if you're getting your mom and dad to teach you, that's going to be a different experience too. So whatever way it is, I hope that you have fun. I used to love this time of year. I still do. It's a little different experience as a parent though. But as a kid, I loved school because I loved learning. I loved going back to see my friends, to learn something new, see my teachers. They were always really awesome. So we're going to start, first thing we're going to start with is a backpack. And we're just going to draw the backpack. It's not going to be on anybody. It's not going to be, it's just going to be sitting on a table. And then
I'm having mine on the floor because I have them.
On a floor. She's going to do a whole scene, right? All right, she's going to do a whole scene. I'm just going to draw the objects and then I might put them into a scene later. But I started off with a U shape, upside down U shape. And I close it off with a curved line across. It sort of looks like, I don't know, what would you call that?
I'm like if you've ever seen a gumdrop, kind of looks like
a gumdrop. That's a lot
gumdrop.
better than the dark mind that I have, which was like, it's sort of a tombstone, but then that's not very cheery or bright. Oh dear.
Looks like a gumdrop.
It does look like a gumdrop. I like that better than my thought. So then you want to have, depending on what kind of backpack you've got, I have a backpack that has 6 pockets on it. Miss Rainbows has a backpack that has 1 big pocket and 2 on the sides. So let's do that. 1 big pocket. So you want to draw, pardon me, you want to draw a rectangle that has rounded corners.
I'm making a different kind.
You do whatever kind you want to do. And I know that hers has a zipper, so I'm just sort of emulating hers a bit. And you kind of want to do these round, curvy rectangles on all the parts that you want pockets. And the bigger the rectangle, the bigger the pocket. Maybe we have a cell phone holder or something here. And maybe if you want something that's like a mesh.
I don't have a cell phone holder in my backpack, but I have one on the inside of my winter coat.
On the inside of your winter coat. Yeah, no, you've had one since like the one that you were 4, wearing 4. I'm like, what kid at 4 has a cell phone? I don't know. You want to do mesh? You can do parallel lines, one way diagonal and one way and then the opposite way diagonal to get a mesh.
Right.
So this is whatever you want to make this backpack. You can add a panda. And Sophia, Miss Rainbows would love a panda. I want to have a little dragon. Maybe you've got your backpack is an Undertale theme. That's I remember these things. So I'm going to just do this dragon. So you can sort of decorate it with whatever you want to decorate it with. Your backpacks usually have straps. From this angle, you would draw, again, sort of U shape with an extra long side. And when a backpack's sitting on a table, or on the floor, you don't always see the full strap. So you just do a little curve like that. And then to indicate that it is actually a strap. Kind of looks like evil eyes, actually, on mine. But I like it. Kind of goes with my theme. Maybe this backpack is actually... Why am I in this kind of mood today? Let's not do that today. Right? My dragon backpack. All right. There, I'll just make my dragon like that. So that's just a really easy way, just a bunch of U-shaped curves, and then you can start doodling all over the backpack. I used to do that when I had a backpack, and my mom would be so frustrated. I would draw whatever I wanted on my backpack in ballpoint pen, marker. I just decorate it, and eventually my mom made me one that was a big canvas pencil case, and she said, go nuts. And so I decorated that all over. I guess she just realized, hey, I'm not going to win this war. And I don't want to discourage artistic creativity. Okay. So that would be just a really simple way of how you could do a backpack. Before we get on to the other stuff, if you want to put this backpack on somebody's back, and I'll move this backpack over the side, there's a few things you'd have to think about when you're doing a character and a backpack. So let's do a character on the side. What do you think? So if I was just drawing character on the side, who's going to stand, really, this is my quick character, who stands here with my quick and cartoony character, a backpack on. I didn't really give them much of a balance there, but one of the things I might do, and I'm showing them from sort of the 3/4 side, there they are. Let's give them a backpack. So I didn't put the arms on because that's going to be a weird overlapping exchange with them of what their arms are going to be like. But I would think about two things before I put the backpack on. How heavy is this backpack? Are they carrying around tons of books or tons of toys or tons of camping equipment? Are they carrying their school supplies? Are they carrying some drawing material? What are they carrying in that backpack? And I think about how heavy that's going to be. And remember, when something has weight, it's usually not going to float lightly on their back. So this would be a quick, like, I could put one up there if it's not too heavy. It's probably going to start to sink on their back a bit. And when you have something heavy on your shoulders, it kind of makes your shoulders, you try to keep your shoulders straight and keep your posture straight. Sometimes that can affect your shoulders a bit too. So that's one thing that you'd want to think about, is how heavy and how big is this backpack going to be. Because if it's camping gear, you might have like a sleeping bag up there. And then
a scene right
you want
now,
to make sure it's all kind of balanced on your character and doesn't look, sometimes you can make it intentionally super big because you're trying to make it look like they are carrying all the stuff. So there are two questions I would ask. What kind of gear are they packing? What kind of story do you want to tell with this backpack? Is this backpack something that they're carrying around that's got precious stuff to them? Are they going to be really proud and happy, or are they going to be like hunched over? Because you could have this character drawn like this, because that backpack is so darn heavy, and it's like they're leaning over and they're like, oh, this is so heavy. So that's one of the things you want to think about. Two other things you want to think about. How heavy is this backpack? What are they carrying? Why are they carrying it? 3 things. Look at that, I just added a 3rd thing. So I'm just going to carry this backpack, and that's just going to be like that. And her straps are going to come forward just like that. And I know I had a habit, so she's pretty proud of this. This is her back to school backpack. She's super happy. Might have the pocket sticking out a little bit. Might have that pocket sticking out a bit, because this is thinking about this on the front. And then I start drawing her hands and her arms. You probably can't have it. So what do I do when I'm carrying my backpack? Maybe you guys do it too. I like to hold the pack here. Because I don't know, I'm so proud of it. So I'll be like, oh, my backpack.
I do that sometimes.
Sometimes it's heavy, sometimes because it's just something to do with my hands. So you could have that as part of your character. Got their hands up, holding the backpack. I have to do my elbow check, just above my hip. So they'll have their elbow right about there. And that's going to go out and over the backpack, over their shoulder. You'll have some erasing to do if you want to do that overlap. So you have more of the arm. You don't really see the backpack all that much, but you do a lot of thinking about the backpack. Because you want to make sure it doesn't just look like that person has something like a square on their back. It actually has a purpose and a place and a story and a weight to it. So that would be my person holding a backpack. Does that make sense? I don't know. Hopefully I haven't lost anybody with that idea. If she were to turn around and put this backpack on, I'm going to make a copy of this and make it shrink. Because the magic of digital, if somebody were to turn around and put this on, I would change up some of the details of this. So if there were lots of books or something in this, then you'd probably see more of the strap cutting into the shirt, so it would kind of press down on that shoulder. I didn't need to take that off. So that would be sort of something that you'd think about. Maybe being able to. So I don't know. I love getting the new supplies. I love getting. I'm going to put a little water bottle in here. So this might actually pop out just a bit more. And you'd sort of have the elbows just out a little bit like that, and you wouldn't see their top part. And usually, if your backpack isn't too heavy, you'd have it just above your butt if you're looking from behind, if it's just a school backpack. So that's an idea of what I do to put this one on. So you have put the straps a little straighter, and then I've sort of made the clothes just a tiny touch, the lines of the clothes just a tiny touch bigger in some areas, because it's giving you indication that those shoulders are getting cut in. That's backpacks. That's just a little extra bonus for any of my older artists who want to just sort of say, well, that's great, we just drew a backpack, but how does it affect my character? How can I make it work? So, are you drawing a person over there?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. So we made mention last week, I'm going to go on to the next one and talk a little bit about the fact that last week we talked about maybe that we're going to have to change Draw With Me Kids time, and this might be our last week doing it at this time. Well, guess what? We're going to get to do it one more week because school is not starting for Miss Rainbows until the week after. So we're going to get at least, I'm just looking at my schedule here. No! You know what's really funny is that you start school on the 2 weeks from now. So we're definitely going to get one more week at 1 p.m. Eastern like we are today. So our next thing is, if you want to draw anything, like pens or pencils, do you want to put them in a jar so they're contained? We're going to go back to our cake lesson and our shape lesson, and we're going to use cylinders. So if you want pencils, 2 straight lines. This is a really big pencil, but that's okay. I want to make sure everybody can see it. I want to do a rounded end. And here's a really important tip. You're doing a pencil. How often have you drawn a pencil wanting to show the eraser and the pointy end of the pencil? You have to make a decision at this point. So you've made your curve, and you made your curve here, so you have your cylinder. You have to make a decision at this point. Which end's going to have the eraser, and which end's going to have the pointy part? Because certain things are going to be hidden. So I'm going to make my eraser down here, and I'll do it again the other way. So I just add a little extension, erase the circle part, and always follow the curve the same direction for perspective. Because if you did this down here like this and then like that, it looks kind of like pencil bulging there in a way that's not good for the eye. So then you add a little triangle at the top. And if you are really particular, you can take, instead of having a circle around there, you can take and do a little jaggy line, and then you've got your pencil. And it looks sort of like it's pointing towards my page a little bit. If you did it the other way, how's yours going? Are you learning this too? Oh, somebody's holding a pencil in your picture. That's cool.
My character's gonna be holding a notebook, an apple, and then he's gonna have a pencil behind his ear.
Ah, that's cool. So when you're drawing your pencil, you just gotta remember which way the pencil is pointing. So if you're pointing it this way, and you make that decision where this is gonna be the pointy part, you take that cylinder, that circle part out again, or the oval part out again. And then if I wanted to make those jaggy lines, I can do the jaggy lines, but if I wanted to draw something on here, for example, always remember the curves go in the same way to help give it depth and perspective. So your eraser would go on there, but it might look a little bit smaller. Even though I think I drew them the same size there, that's not very helpful. That's not very helpful, Sam, I am. Yeah. So you might not see as much of the eraser from this perspective. So that's sort of one little trick you can use instead of having, like, I used to draw pencils straight. And you can draw them like that too. But if you add some curves, it gives it just that little bit extra realism to your pencils. So you got one pencil, two pencils. But what if you wanted to store your pencils? How many have you guys used pencils at school? Oops, still. Is that still on your school list? Yours had some, right, Miss Rainbows?
Yeah.
I love getting brand new pencils. And I don't even go to school anymore. I love getting brand new pencils. Maybe because I like to draw with them. So for this guy, same idea. You're making your cylinder, and you're deciding where this can turn into a trash can. This can be a pencil holder. Draw two straight lines parallel to each other, and a little goof there on the side. No problem. And a curved line to connect them. So if your pencil, if you're looking at this table like you would look at a table from above, you want to have the curve go the direction of where, because you're looking from above in the direction of the table. If you wanted to change it up and you're looking from below the table, you might go for that option. But that's not what we're doing today. You sort of want to take a look and see what I mean is you could take an object like my candle here, which is upside down, my candle here, my witchy candle, and if I hold it to you, you can see it's sort of straight on. If I put it a little further down, well, hold that straight on, down a little further, you can start to see a bit of the curve. And if I bring it up, you can start to see the curve on this side. So sometimes I like just taking objects and moving them around and looking at them and seeing what they do. That's how I learn perspective. Well, that in practice. always observe what you have in your world, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You can learn so much just from looking at doorways or looking at tree leaves or just looking at candle objects. Even if it's not something, I'm not drawing a candle, I'm drawing a can. I know why I found that funny. Because can and candle, anyway, it's a word thing. So what do you want to put in here? What are we going to put in the can? I'm going to put a couple straight lines. Maybe my ruler is in here, actually. One of the things too, when you're putting your straight lines in, of what's in your thing, think about what they might do if they weren't pressed up against each other. They might fall. And this guy, you would have to think about, well, I'm having this ruler fall over to the edge and lean over to the edge. Where is his bottom going to be? So I try to imagine that in my head. I don't always draw it out. If you need to, just draw the extra lines and see, yeah, it's lining up. That makes sense. And then I erase them later. You don't have to do that if you've got a good solid thing in your head. You know what's funny? Today we don't have any trivia questions. I would put less of a curve on the top of this ruler because, well, what rulers have curves in them? Not too many. It sort of keeps the illusion of it being a ruler. I'm going to put a pen. So. If this were my brush, my thing, I'd probably have one of these guys in it, a little brush. So what I did with that one is I drew two lines that are just getting a little bit further apart at the bottom. Because brushes are just a little bit oddly shaped that way. I've made a thing, curvy line there, and a curvy line there, to show the, what is that called? Who knows the answer to this? I should know the answer to this. The pinceau or whatever, what holds the brushes together. There's actually a word for that, and I can't find the word in my head today. Driving me nuts. And then the bristles are just a teardrop on top of all of that. In fact, I have lots of these hanging around. I use like old plastic containers, OxyClean containers, and I've got all my pencils hiding in there, and pens and stuff. Got paintbrush ones over on a counter somewhere over there. My office is a mess. I kind of like it that way. Alright, so another image that we usually get at school, or when we think about school.
Mommy, can I put my water bottle?
Go get your water bottle. This rainbows is leaving us for a moment. That's okay.
I'm just gonna get my water bottle.
So, another thing, iconic thing that we think about at school, or think about for school, is the tradition of giving your teacher an apple, or having an apple on the teacher's desk. And I know we kind of covered apples briefly in a color session before, but the cool thing about apples is that they come in a lot of different shapes and a lot of different colors and a lot of different sizes. One of the easiest ways to do an apple is to start off with a circle. And if it's not a perfect circle, it's kind of a wobbly one like I've got here, that's okay. Apples are not perfect circles. You can start off with a circle.
Back.
She's back and hydrated, presumably.
Yeah.
So I'm getting fussy about this circle. I just said you don't have to. And one of the things about using or starting with a circle is it's something we're familiar with and we've done a lot of times in our Draw With Me Kids edition sessions. So that's a good way to start. Apples kind of have, some apples kind of have the bumps on them. So I start to add a little bit of a bump on the top. This is going to be an interesting apple. And sometimes just to give that impression of where, I'm going to change that up, of where that apple has its stem, I do a little curved line right in the middle of where I put those bumps. And then I do like a horn almost, but it's sort of two lines, triangle with curvy lines, and then I add an oval on the top. So it's sort of a triangular, or actually a cone pyramid? Cone pyramid? Cone. Not a cone pyramid. Just a cone. Really? I need to go back to school. So it's a cone, but it's got a point that goes a little bit odd that way. And then I put my little teardrop again for the leaf. And that's pretty much an apple. You could do other things with this apple. Maybe you want to have a Granny Delicious apple. So you'd sort of start to bring that down and put the bumps down there.
There's a Red Delicious and a Granny Smith.
Granny Smith, Red Delicious. And then you
I think he might have combined two apples there.
Did I just say a Red Smith?
You said Granny Delicious.
And a Red Smith. Oh my gosh.
You really need to go back to school.
I really need to go back to school. Or back to bed. So that would be a way to do sort of a Granny Smith apple, or to give it another bump. Just as sort of a variety. And why do we give teachers an apple at school? Hey, maybe that's our first trivia question. On the fly trivia question. I think it's mostly a question that oh, interesting. Well, I did not know that. Thanks, Children's Museum. Go for the dream tales. Don't resist them. If that's your inspiration, Emily, go for it. If you want to make the whole, just like I put a dragon on my bag. I was going to make this a dragon monster bag that was going to have teeth on its instead of zipper teeth, it was going to have real teeth. Because that would be something weird and crazy. But I didn't do that today. So I'm going to go with my apple. I know that you, Emily, were having some issues with, or concerns with your apples, which I thought were lovely on your undertale, your dreamtail rather, tree that you did. I thought they were lovely. That was definitely a shape of an apple. So you can see both of them side by side. You just do a circle. If you want, you can put the bumps on the top. Little divot for the stem. And there you go. So it's just a round apple. Kind of use that technique for like oranges or other fruits that you want to have hanging. So I have looked up, why do we give teachers apples? And the origin of that is not necessarily known, other than apple is a symbol for wisdom and learning in a lot of cultures. Some cultures, the very symbol of going a little too far in wisdom and learning. And in other cultures, it is like the really big symbol of wisdom and learning. You'd have an apple for educators. But it turns out one of the reasons that we would give apples to the teacher was that in Sweden or Denmark, that was how they actually paid their teachers many years ago for teaching their children when they couldn't afford to pay the tuition. He would bring a basket of apples. Who knew? That's according to the Children's Museum of, I'll tell you. Oh, Children's Museum of Indianapolis. I'd have to go check that out and see what their source is for that. That is an important thing too, by the way. Whenever we do our trivia, we always try to figure out what our sources are and double check them to make sure the information is, you know, accurate and not something like, really, are you pulling my leg? That's part of why I like school, is that you can go and ask those questions and have access to libraries and computers and information and teachers who, hopefully you have good teachers who like to look things up for you and find out answers for you. I always did. Well, not always. I had one teacher who was not like that. He was a little less than accommodating. But most of my teachers were very good. One of the things you can do to really make an apple shine, if you're not going to use color, which I'm going to use color eventually, in the line art, you can draw little things like a diamond for where you want your highlight to be in your apple.
I sometimes draw
Very light circle.
no, I
What do you
sometimes
draw?
draw
That
this
is a
shape on my
really
apple.
good shape. Okay, I'm going to put that on the apple too. I'll do it on this one right here. Miss Sophia's got a really good, Miss Rainbow's has a really good, oops.
I make like a crescent moon on my apple.
Do a crescent like that on the apple to show the super shiny part. That's a really good thing to do too. One of the cool things to remember that I sort of talked about when we're coloring with shading in mind, and sometimes for my younger artists watching, don't worry about the shadings part of it too much. It's fun to do. It's fun to learn if you want to learn it, but I don't want you to get frustrated if you're just excited to color in the lines of the solid color. Color in the lines of the solid color. This is about having fun. So one of the things I would do for shading this apple is remember when we were doing our shapes, our three-dimensional shapes, I actually talked about this too when I did a quick little demonstration of how I'd color an apple. I like to start with a whole solid color, but if you guys are working with not digital and working with pencil crayon, let me color it that way. How's that? Let me color if I were coloring with a pencil crayon. I'd start out coloring that much of the apple. I'd leave reflective part where the apple's sitting on the table. And I get a lighter color of red. Might even have a green in there. And then an even lighter color of red. What is a lighter shade of red? Anybody know?
I think I know.
What's still a shade of red?
Pink.
Pink. And as weird as it sounds, if I'm just doing a red apple, I would go right to the pink. Since I'm not gradiating the stuff, I just go right to the pink. And then I put a nice white shine to it. And I just have a also pinkish right up next to my dark color near the edge there to show that the table is reflecting back. So that would be something to consider for when if you want to go into shading. Yeah, Miss Rainbows.
No.
Whoa! What is this little tube?
Giving the cat. He's giving the cat the apple.
He's giving the cat an apple. That's adorable. The cat looks a little bit like, what is this? Let me sniff that. That's really cool. Way to go.
And then the wind is blowing this way. So it's blowing out some of his he's blowing up some of his his name tag and
I just made a muddy mess.
he's blowing up his name tag and his bow and his hair.
Oh, wow. That's a lot going on in that picture. I love it. Okay, I'm going to do this like I would do it in a digital picture. A digital painting, which is kind of what I'm doing anyway, but when I'm painting digitally, I try to think of what is called the mid-tone color, and that's probably not. Yeah, we'll make that the mid-tone. We'll make this the mid-tone. I would choose what my mid-tone color is, which is the color I would expect would look good in light, but is not the highlight. So when you look at somebody's face, like my face, my cheek, this is my cheek. I'm going to show you right here. This cheek, I've got a really white, bright spot where the light is reflecting off. That would be a highlight. Right about here would be what I call the mid-tone, and then right around my jawline, right under my neck, is the shadow. So if you're looking to learn a little bit more about shadow and light reflection, that's sort of what you'd look for. So I'm using a darker color for my shadow, and whenever I do digital work, I start with the mid-tone and then I start adding highlight and shadow. And sometimes it is a three color process, and sometimes it's a lot more than that. But for sake of simplicity, to show everybody how to do it, it's going to be 3 colors. Just have apples floating in the sky. That's pretty crazy. In my picture, that's what it looks like, right?
Yeah.
Yay!
Oh, they're hanging on something.
Maybe they're hanging on something. And then if they were hanging on something, I would probably not have quite as big a thing. It still would have a reflective light, but it might not have. So what if they were hanging? Ooh, that's weird. What if they were hanging on a little chain like that? Because they're part of a decoration in the classroom. Oh, I like that. There's some wind. It's been kind of crummy and gray here all day. It's like it's waiting for something. What do you suppose it's waiting for? Hey? I don't know. Think it's going to storm?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably is. I can't quite find the color I like. Classic pencil color. That's a pretty good classic pencil color. Look. Sort of yellow pencil. It makes me think of school buses and pencils in school. Actually, almost orangey. For any of our friends that are going back to school, do you have all your new school supplies ready? Going back to the classroom? And if you're not going back to school, do you have an office set up or your own little desk set up at home? So many different ways people are going to be doing school this year. It's going to be pretty amazing to learn how they all are doing. It's also going to be important to check in on oh, this is a very good question. For dragon horns, you usually end them in points, swirls, or something else. I've done dragon horns all kinds of ways. My favorite way to do them, I love doing them. Here, I'll show you one of my. I'm going to put this on there and do that. She can go in there too. I love doing dragon horns. This might be too big. A couple of ways. I think of the shape that I want to make them. So if I've got my head, really loose head, I've got sort of my more beaky, this one's more of a beaky one. I do think this guy, I'm just going to move him over here, could have horns that have, I always try to remember that the skin is going to lift up and it's almost sort of going to be breaking out of the skin. I like doing horns that are straight up, sometimes like that, in a point. Except when I do them, I like to think of them growing in the growing stages, so I do segments. So I like having that kind of segmented and thinking about how it's sprouting and then letting out the next part of the horn. I also love doing a dragon horn. Kind of a little bit like that, like a mountain goat's horn. And I still like doing this segmented, and sometimes you can vary those because maybe that dragon had that horn at that length for a lot longer. That's how I kind of think of it when I'm thinking horns. I use reference to animals that do have horns. And I look at pictures of them. And it depends. If I want something that's a particularly powerful and striking dragon that's a little scary, then I like to really make sure I accent these segments, and that they might have scars or something on them to look like they've been through a lot. If I want something that's a little bit more elegant, then I would sort of look towards sort of doing more like a gazelle horn, and they're usually pretty darn straight, and that would be something that I would consider for a horn. So it sort of depends what kind of character you want. If you want something that's like this big, tough, mean, I'm trying to look at my dudes that I have around.
Sometimes when I make
all out of reach for me right now.
Sometimes when I make a dragon horn,
Yeah.
I make the swirl, but instead of making it end off in a curl,
yeah,
I make it swirl in, and then I make it end off in a straight line.
Oh, so like it's been broken off? Kind of like that?
No.
No?
I'll show you.
Okay, show me.
Quick thing here on the...
Show us!
So I have my horn like this, except it ends like this.
Ah, I see. So like you could put a jewelry decoration cap or something on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be cool. I know, again, it's a great question, Emily, because it all depends, I would say it all depends on the character. Like I have a little tea dragon who is a baby, and so his horn sort of goes like this. And it's just basically peeking out of this sort of skin, just sort of the little tiny knob. But its parent kind of grows, like the adult version of the tea dragon grows a little bit more like this. That's sort of an elegant, I don't know, crest on it, because they're more of an elegant dragon. Yeah, I look at other horns and I try to think about what kind of dragon am I creating. Has this dragon actually been able to grow it all the way to a point, and it looks intimidating, whereas part of that horn sort of broken off like that in a sort of jagged way, because was in battle. So it's sort of like all of our lessons we've done, our sessions, whatever you want to call them, together. One of the things I like to say all the time to you guys is think about the story that you want to tell with your character, and then when you're creating extra things like dragon horns, or if you're going to have somebody with fangs, or if you're going to try and do something that's uber cute, sort of think of the story and then start using shapes that, like a cute dragon would have something that was more rounded, like this guy's cuter, so his horns not so pointy and dangerous. But if it's something that's scarier, you might have several rows of horns, and maybe you're making a crown.
This is supposed to be a school, isn't it?
I know, this is supposed to be school, but maybe the dragons are going to school.
Yeah.
So
or maybe somebody's bringing a pet dragon to school.
I would totally.
Or somebody's riding a dragon to school.
I would totally bring a pet dragon to school. Are you kidding me? I would totally bring a pet dragon to
I would ride a dragon to school with a baby panda in my backpack.
Gosh, I wish we could ride a dragon to school. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't mind answering questions like that. Are you kidding me? You guys can ask whatever type of question, a drawing question you want during this, even if it's not directly related to the topic. Or maybe it is for your picture. That's what I love. So yeah, it would just dragon horns and dragon adornments, as I like to call them, all depend on what kind of story you want to tell with your dragon. What kind of character is your dragon? And I have a sneaking suspicion that, Emily, you will not have an issue with coming up with a background or a story for what your characters are like. You probably already have that written up here. Just like I know Miss Rainbows, when she has a character idea, not an issue. She thinks about it a lot. Then she puts it down on paper. And if you can do that, you're miles ahead of some artists out there, because that gives you a bit of an edge of thinking ahead, or thinking in your head, or feeling the whole picture out before you start. And a lot of professional artists, that's exactly what they do, is they think ahead about what they're trying to tell with their picture. Instead of just drawing something for, gee, I want to draw an alligator. Okay, well, is your alligator grumpy? Is your alligator happy? Is your alligator not wanting to be an alligator and actually wants to be the best trumpet player in the bayou, like Lewis? That's from Princess and the Frog, right?
Yeah.
And that will help you decide what kind of shapes you want to start with for that character, what kind of things you want to add to that character, and what kind of story you're going to tell about that character. Like, yeah. That could be a fun exercise to do too, is to take a character that we all know and love and see how they're drawn and why they're drawn that way. That could be fun. What's next week? I've made a list of stuff that you guys have been discussing. So I've made a list of stuff for September, and I thought October, guys, will be all of our spooky themes, except
I've
for...
had this character story done for a while. I'm drawing them for the first time.
Oh, that's so cool! That's really exciting! Ooh, I love when you get to the first time, you're like, oh, I'm gonna do this. It's gonna be fun. So, yeah, October we're going to do a lot of spooky themes. We're going to do a whole month of Halloween stuff, except for Thanksgiving we'll do turkeys. But next week is National Teddy Bear Day. Actually on the day, so we'll do our own wicked wild bears, teddy bears. I know we've already done bears, but we'll do them as teddy bears, and what that sort of difference makes. But we have Mario Brothers is one of our options somebody asked for.
Bamboo Leaf is wanting
that
to
might be
ask
one.
for something.
Bamboo Leaf wants to ask for something.
Can I draw myself next week?
Yes,
She wants to
bamboo
draw
leaf, you
herself
can draw
next
yourself in all of your imperfections and lovely amazingness. Makes you unique. I made bamboo leaf.
Yeah.
And I've never done an origami or I think that's what they're called, yarn creation toy before. So yeah, this is going to be cool. I can't wait to see what this character looks like. Especially if there are dragon horns involved. So cool. It's like I can't wait to see everybody else's creations from today. Or from any time that you do them. I'm going with this color because this is one of Miss Rainbow's favorite colors. And it is one of the colors that she has, actually is the color of her backpack. I'm not going to go for too much realism as far as shading. I did that with the apples. So I'm going to do it with the backpack. Today I get to work on some characters that are actually based off of people and put them in a fun scenario. So it's going to be cool.
Take it up and change sides to my picture. I turned the dragon horns hide into a part of my picture.
Oh, cool. Vote for...
Show you the other side.
Vote for me to go back to school.
He's riding the dragon!
Dragon bus.
Yeah.
I would ride the dragon bus. I would ride the dragon bus. Well then, we're going to have some big time trivia. This is the pinkest. This is the pinkest funky dragon I have ever done. Love him.
It's fuchsia.
Fuchsia. Fuchsia. Goose fuchsia. It's gonna be fuchsia. Fuchsia. Let's light up the place in fuchsia. Fuchsia and bright yellow. This is a backpack you are not going to miss. So we're going to have some more trivia for next week. Actual trivia instead of me making it up on the fly. Hi, here we are.
Hi.
So guys, we'll be back again next week at this time. Now that we have our schedule for school, we are starting school not next week, but the week after. So we'll have one more time slot here, and then we will let you know on my Facebook page what time we are going to be changing to and how long each session is going to be once we figure that out. In the meantime, we'll see you next week.
Okay, bye. I didn't get to do this last week, so. Yo, I dabbed live. Bye, everybody. Bye, everybody.